To make a cloth simulation in Maya, you want to start always by setting up a project window. You can do a new folder and then pick where you want it to save. Let's go ahead and make a new folder and call this one Simulation. From here, I would change the name of the project to Cloth because I'll be running cloth simulations for this one, and hit Accept, and it should make all my folders for me. From there, I want to create a sphere and a plane. If I need, double-click to make sure that in the Create menu, Interactive Creation is on. Go ahead, and in your top view, you can make a sphere, and then you want to make a plane that's about you could fit maybe 4 to 9 of the spheres in it. If I were to simulate this, remember things can only move on each vertice, so I only have 4 vertices to control my simulation. It'll look more like I'm dropping glass on it. So I want to go ahead and in my control panel, I can click Polyplane, and in my inputs, I'm going to change my subdivision height and my subdivision width to 50. You could probably get a good simulation at 25 as well, but 50 usually is pretty safe. Put the plane so that it's above the sphere, and then from there, change your drop-down menu to Render or to FX. Mine was on Render, yours might be on Modeling. Go ahead and pick N-Cloth. Anything with an N is going to be a simulation that uses a nucleus, which is their system for controlling forces and physics and such like that. So I want to make sure that this plane is an N-Cloth. I can do that by hitting Create N-Cloth here. I can also go to the FX tab and hit that here as well. From there, I want to go to the sphere and go to, yep, that's fine. I know it's a student version. Create Passive Collider, and that will mean that this can run into this ball. From there, I hit play, and hopefully, in whatever view I'm clicked in, it'll fall. And then once your simulation is done, you can stop it. This took about 70. If I wanted it to show it settling a little more or starting to fall off, I could go up to 90 or 120. Once you know how long you want the simulation, go ahead and put both numbers here. We should be able to see the whole course of it because this is a pretty small simulation. But this is how much of the timeline shows, and this is how long the entire video is. For now, we can have those as the same number. At this point, you're done a cloth simulation. It's just making it pretty. You can add materials by going to Hypershade. And from there, move the Hypershade window over. You can right-click in this area, hold it down, and go to Create Materials to select your materials from this area. The standard surface is the default for Arnold. And then remember that your Lambert is the flat material for kind of the older style rendering. Your Blinn is going to have some shininess, and your PhongE is how you can go ahead and duplicate things like metal. I'm going to use one of each. I can select presets and go ahead and click on one of the presets that I want. From here, I picked Velvet. It looked a little odd, but I'll try it again. And I can put those on the materials. Put the materials on by either right-click and holding and going Assign Existing Material. That one is a standard surface too. Or I can middle mouse click and drag. So once again, if I create another one, material, I'm going to go ahead and select an PhongE. If I can read that, or PhongE. You'll have to apologize. I'm dyslexic, I always flip those. And then from there, we can adjust this just so it's a little more interesting. So I might want to decrease the roughness to give it a little more reflection. And normally I decrease the color a little, but it doesn't matter too much for this. Once I have that material, I can go ahead and grab my PhongE And once again, I can right click, or I can click my middle mouse wheel and physically click and drag it over. Then we can just add in lighting. If I want to add an Arnold light, I can add an Arnold light from the menu. I don't have my Arnold light up, so I would go to Setting Preferences, Plugin Manager, and from there, in my Plugin Manager, I can search MTOA, and mine was not loaded, and I didn't have auto load on. And now I should have Arnold up here now. That would close. I can add the Arnold lights just by going to Arnold Light and clicking, let's try a physical sky if I want to be able to see the sky. And then I can frame by an Alt click and having it go up a little on the right. From there, I can render by actually going to this Open Arnold Render View. And if I hit play, it should show me what the render looks like. And I can skip around a couple times to check what the render would look like at different frames. This will kind of auto render, but it's a little slower. And on my computer, especially since I'm running so much, it'll appear really slow. In fact, I think you probably heard the fan pick up. Once I'm satisfied with what it looks like, I can set this up to render by going to Render. Instead of FX, I want Rendering. And I'm going to go to Render Settings. I want to change this to Arnold Renderer. I'll call this Tila Baron Cloth Demo. And I know some people really like camel case. I like writing things properly so I can actually read them later. And then I can select JPEG. From there, I want this option, name_number extension, although any of the ones that don't just say single frame should work. I find some of my older computers have not liked reading any of them that have a period, so I always use an underscore. And from here, I would set my start frame and end frame. And I said this ended around 120, so I want to use 120. Then I render it. A lot of tutorials will tell you to batch render, but if you use batch render with the Arnold renderer and you haven't paid for it, it'll leave a stamp across it. So you can go ahead and just say render sequence, and it will draw out every frame. So at this point, normally, once you've set up this render, you're going to go ahead and stop. And I did one really bad thing. I didn't save before I started this render. You should always do that, so hopefully it won't crash. And that's how you do this demonstration. We'll put it together as a video next time.